In this video, I'm going to cover 3 really important topics. What is it like living in the United States, and why is it so magical, and why I think it's the best place to live in the world? How do I move to the United States, Cliff? How do I make it happen? How do I visit for the first time? How do I get a J1 visa, or an H1B visa, or a TN visa, or a B1 or B2 visa, or an O1 visa?
What?
Stick around to the end. I'll show you how you can use that system to move to the United States permanently. I really look for and admire growth mindset in people. And one of the very unique and amazing things about the United States is it has a huge density of people like that. There are folks like this in Canada and the UK and Israel and South Africa and Asia and all over the place. It's just that I find that the density in the United States, especially in the major cities, is higher. Why is that the case? Well, number one, the culture in the United States is such that you give a lot of credibility to young people. So right now I'm living in London, and I can already tell that I need to prove myself a little bit more here than I do when I'm in the US. In the US, if you open your mouth and you start talking and you say smart things, even without the beard, when I look 14, people still listen. And I don't feel a massive urge to prove myself as much as I do here. You might get discounted more quickly. There's a real belief, both in young people and in old people, that young people can change the world. And I think a lot of that way was paved by people like Bill Gates, like Steve Jobs, like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, who started the companies that now shape the United States when they were in their 20s. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the industry in the United States. New York is the financial hub of the world. Hollywood is the media hub of the world. San Francisco is the tech hub of the world. There's so much agriculture that happens in the breadbasket in the middle of the United States. And the United States is the biggest market in the world. If you want to sell a good, the place that will pay you the most money are the 330 million people who live in the United States who also make a really high income. And so it's much easier to build a business in the United States than other places. When I was a kid, my dad wanted me to learn English because if you speak Hebrew and you write a book, 7 million people can read it. If you do it in English, 7 billion can. But most importantly, the 330 million in the United States can. How do I move to the United States? There's a couple of things that you should know. The first one is you can come to the United States as a visitor from most countries on what's called a B1 visa. It's 3 months where you can come as a visitor. You can easily extend that to a B2 visa, which gives you 6 months in the United States. That's the easiest way to start. You want to move to LA? Book an Airbnb in LA for 1 week and just show up.
Bombs away!
And hang out. Make friends, message people on Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube and email people and search LinkedIn and just have as many coffees as you can.
How many of those have you had?
Oh, I don't know. 1 million?
You have a week, make sure that you're meeting 5 people a day for coffee that you don't know and just build a network of friends. But how do you move here in a way legally where you can stay for a long time? The first one is to come in as a student. Apply to go to university here. You can apply to one of the fancy private schools or to a public school or to a community college. It doesn't have to be a fancy school. It can be a school that has a low tuition and a high acceptance rate, and you apply, and if you get in, you get an F1 visa, a student visa, and boom, you can be here for 4 years, maybe even 5. So that's the best way to get into the United States. But obviously, it requires for you to be willing to spend some time studying as opposed to working, and it will not give you a visa to work. It'll only give you a visa to study. Once you finish studying for 4 years, if you studied Bachelor of Arts, you can be on what's called OPT. I think Bachelor of Arts OPT is either 6 months or 12 months, but Bachelor of Science, if you studied, computer science or engineering or physics, hard science, your OPT can last for I think 1.5 to 2 years, and you can work after the time. It's because the United States wants to encourage people who are educated to be here and work here. All right. Student and then OPT is the easiest way to go. What are other ways? You can get what's called an H1B visa. Let's say you want to work for Speechify, and you want to work for Speechify while being in the United States. By the way, you can work for Speechify and live in, Hong Kong or Dubai or London, whatever you want, from your home country. You say, hey Cliff, I want to work for Speechify, and I go, well, what do you got? Are you good? Oh, you're really good. Okay, let's hire you. Let's apply for an H1B visa. Costs a couple of $1,000s. It's usually sponsored by your employer, and we will initially submit to the government a bunch of forms about you that shows that you have a college degree, that you have the relevant skills. And then if the government goes, yeah, this person seems like he would be a good fit for this job and he seems very educated, we want him here, then there is a lottery, and you have a 30% chance of winning the lottery. And if you win the lottery, welcome to America, baby. You can come move to the United States, and you're good for many years. And if you want to transfer from Speechify to another company, you can do that too. But it's not a permanent visa. It's for a couple of years. Second one, even more easy, is what's called a J1 visa. Let's say you're a student in school, or you recently graduated school in the last 3 years. You can get a J1 visa, which is an internship visa. And that allows you to move to the United States, work in the United States for up to 2 years, I believe. And I promise you, once you're here for a year or two, you'll find ways of staying for longer. A J1 visa you can apply for yourself if you want, or your employer can apply for you. It's also a couple of $1,000s. When I say a couple, I mean $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You can apply by yourself, or you can apply with a lawyer. You can also get a J1 visa as an au pair, as a nanny. to go and live in someone's house. And it's like very easy to do. If you just want to come live in the United States and you want to take care of kids, that's a very easy way of doing it. And you can do that for a couple of years. I have a bunch of friends who did this. So let's just back up. B1, B2 visa for a visitor, F1 visa for a student, OPT after you've been a student for about 4 years, J1 visa as an intern working in tech or as an au pair, H1B visa if you come to work as an employee, and then the most exciting one for me is called an O1 visa. O1 visas are what's called alien of exceptional ability. When we say alien, we mean someone who is not a resident of the United States. They're so skilled that the United States will go out of its way to make sure that they come here. Sometimes they give O1 visas to Olympic athletes, to pop stars, to actors. Albert Einstein got an O1 visa, but you can also get an O1 visa just for being really good in your industry. There's about 8 different categories you have to prove. You've published some original research, or you've had a lot of media coverage, or you're like paid an exorbitant amount, or you are clearly a leader in your industry because you go and give talks, etc. So at Speechify, we have 2, and now we're in the process for a 3rd O1 visa. And once you get an O1 visa, it becomes very easy. So let's say you get an O1 visa. After a couple of years, you could apply for EB1 or EB2, which transition your O1 visa into a green card. So a green card is what at the end of the day you really want. A green card is a path to citizenship. You have a green card for 5 years, and after 5 years, you become a US citizen. And that's it, you have a US passport. I think that having a US passport is the equivalent in terms of value of being worth millions of dollars, because it's such an amazing passport to have. It's such an amazing country to be able to live in. It just makes you very safe, it makes you very secure, and it gives you access to what I think is one of the highest quality of living that exists in the world. Cool. Green card is what you want at the end of the day. An O1 visa is a very easy, not easy, but one path of getting a green card. I think there's about 5 other ways of getting a green card. One is you can make I think it was a $500,000 investment in the United States, and you can get immigration status that leads to a green card. Another one is you can marry someone here, and you can come here as a spouse if they also have a US citizenship. The next one is the lottery. Believe it or not, there's this thing called the green card lottery, and you can search on the internet green card lottery, and you should apply. And there's a small chance you win, but if you win, that's it, you get a green card. Like, you've hopped over the entire thing, and it's because the United States wants to support diversity, and it wants to make sure that we have people from all over the world who come here. There's different amounts of allocations for different countries based on how many of those types of people already live in the United States and what's the population of the country. But search green card lottery, apply, there's a chance you'll win. Every year you should reapply. Let's say you want to work for Speechify and you want to move to the United States. What should you do? Well, the first thing you should do is download the Speechify app, download the Speechify Chrome extension, use them. Take a video of how you use them, find the bugs, and report them to the head of products. Then come up with how to improve the wording on the website. If you're a developer, build like a companion app, whatever. More importantly though, message Simon at Speechify.com, who leads hiring, and tell him, hey, I want to work for Speechify. Here's my resume. What do I need to do in order to work for Speechify? We had a guy who did this with me years ago, and he wasn't good enough yet. And I said, but I can see your passion. Look, you are not at the level that we need you to be, but here's 2 courses on how to do iOS development. Take them and build a project of this scope and reach back out to me when you do. Well, 6 months later he did, and he was really good, and we hired him. Be that person. Find the 5 companies you're most excited about. And I'm serious, this is not a joke. Write it down right now after the video. What are the 5 companies you most want to work for? What's the email of the CEO? What's the email of the head of marketing? What's the email of the other 3 top executives in the company? Send an email to every single one of them. Tell them why you like the company. Give them 3 sentences about why you are awesome and 3 sentences about why you think they are awesome. And then ask them to get on a Zoom call with you. And most likely, you won't get it the first try, but send another email, and finally, I swear, I promise, they'll respond and you'll get on a Zoom call. And that's how you progress in life. Build relationships, start there, and add value to people. When you send an email, just ask them, how can I save you 3 hours this week? And it's, by the way, hard to come up with an answer to that question. So make it easier for them. What are your top 2 goals right now that you wish you could be spending time on that you don't have time for? You go be the person that contributes to those. If you start adding value to people who run businesses, they'll want you to work with them full time. And they'll go out of their way to hire you, and they'll even file for immigration for you. By the way, if the company doesn't have immigration as a discipline yet, and they say, oh, sorry, we don't do H1 visas, you are the one who owns your immigration process, not your lawyer, not your potential employer. It's you. You tell the lawyer what to do. You tell your employer what to do. You read the final documentation, make sure that they're good when they get submitted, because you are the one who, in the end of the day, really cares that they get approved. Take ownership. Anyway, if you want to work for Speechify, email Simon at Speechify.com. Ideally, you're an engineer or a designer or someone who's really into growth. Find ways of adding value. Click the link below to download the iOS app. Click the link below to download the Chrome extension. Like and subscribe. If you have a friend who wants to move to the United States, share this video with your friend. And as always, Happy listening.